Alright guys, now that we've got the fire going, who's got the scary stories?
Scary stories? I don't think you can handle mine.
Oh, really, Riley? I know one that we could tell.
Are you thinking the one I'm thinking?
What are you guys talking about?
Well, Sam, have you ever heard the story of Cindy James?
Ha, no. But nice try. That doesn't even sound scary.
Oh, it is. Don't you worry.
Let me set the scene for you. It's June of 1989 in Vancouver, British Columbia. Everything is quiet. Normal. Well, that is until a body was found lying in the yard of an abandoned home.
The body belonged to a nurse named Cindy James. She was 44, originally from Oliver, Canada.
She was drugged, strangled, and her hands and feet had been tied behind her back with nylon.
One night, her friend Agnes Woodcock stopped by to visit Cindy, only to get no answer. She decided that Cindy was probably taking a bath, but she decided to investigate anyway.
Reports say that Agnes walked around outside and then found her, crouched down with a nylon stocking tied suffocatingly around her neck. Cindy survived, though.
She was apparently going to her garage to move some boxes when someone ambushed her, and all she saw was white sneakers.
But she survived.
That time.
This wasn't the first time that something of the sorts had happened to Cindy James, though. For 7 years prior, she reported almost 100 incidents of harassment that began before she left her husband. 5 of them were physical, violent attacks. The others were silent or whispering phone calls that dealt threats to Cindy.
At night, she heard people creeping around outside. Her porch lights were smashed, her phone lines were severed, and police doubted her.
After the attack, Cindy moved and changed many things about her. She changed her last name and her car color. She also hired a private investigator, Ozzy Caban.
Ozzy reports that Cindy was mysterious, evasive, and would never tell him the whole story. Her mother thinks that she was threatened not to give more information to the police or her family would have been harmed.
That poor girl.
That's one way to put it.
One night, the PI, Ozzy, heard noises coming from the communicator he gave to Cindy. That's when he rushed to her house and
Found her lying on her kitchen floor with a knife going through her hand.
A knife?
Yes, through her hand.
she recovered from this attack too. She only recalls being attacked and a needle being stuck to her arm. Police didn't take any fingerprints from her attack, but Cindy told them that sometimes this person was accompanied by 1, maybe 2 people. Sometimes there were 2 or 3.
And they did nothing about it?
Well, the threatening calls were too short to trace. They never came when police had 24-hour surveillance on the home. Sometimes they stayed for days with up to 14 officers. The calls only came when nobody but Cindy was there.
As the police grew suspicious, many people thought that this was the attacker's plan, to break the police's trust on Cindy.
Shortly after, she was found barely awake in a ditch 6 miles from her home. She was suffering from hypothermia as she only had a man's work boot and a glove on. There were cuts and bruises all over her body and a nylon stocking tied around her neck again.
She had no memory.
Again?
Again.
Her friend Agnes and Agnes's husband Tom decided to stay with Cindy.
One night, they heard noises and awoke to the basement, engulfed in flames and the phone lines all cut.
Tom runs out to ask a man on the street to call the fire department, but the man ran the other way down the street.
The police, still suspicious of Cindy, believed she had staged the fire. There were no fingerprints or dust outside the windowsills, and the fire was set from inside.
Her doctor admitted Cindy into a psych ward, believing the woman was just suicidal. 10 weeks later, she left the ward.
Cindy's father, Otto, says that Cindy admitted she knew more than she could tell them, and she swore to go after her attacker herself.
Herself? That's insane.
Don't forget, we told you how this ended at the beginning of our story.
6 years and 7 months after that first threatening phone call, Cindy goes missing.
In May of 1989, the same day she went missing, her car is found in a neighborhood parking lot.
Inside her car were mundane things, some groceries and a gift.
However, the driver's side door was bloody. Her wallet and all the items from inside were under her car.
It's not until 2 weeks later that they find Cindy.
Alive?
Dead. They found her in the front of an abandoned house.
She appeared to have been brutally murdered.
This time, her hands and her feet were hogtied. Behind her back and around her neck, tightly wound was...
A nylon stocking?
So you've been listening.
Suspiciously, Cindy's autopsy revealed that she died of an overdose. Morphine and other drugs mixed together.
Police ruled this as a suicide.
She was harassed for 7 years, hogtied, and found far from her car, and they think it was a suicide?
Yep, the coroner in Vancouver even said that she didn't die of a suicide, an accident, or even a murder. They ruled it an unknown event.
An unknown event?
The family believes the police worked too hard to prove this was a suicide instead of investigating the possibility of murder.
So someone's getting away with murder.
It's very possible.
Well, that's creepy. You got me good. Oh, I didn't even know I got service out here. Hello? Haha, very funny, guys. Who is this?
I literally have no idea.
This isn't part of the story anymore.